Thanks for joining us here at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover for our Super Bowl 58 review. It's a sad one for the Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover guys. Well, sad one for Joe. As the Kansas City Chiefs go back-to-back, the first team in 20 years to go back-to-back, and they've won 3 in the last 5 with a thrilling, epic overtime victory, 25-22 over the San Francisco 49ers in Las Vegas. Sad end as it always is to the football season, but we're here to have one last breakdown and talk through everything that went on because it was very eventful. It took a while to get going, but once it did, there are lots and lots to talk about. Joe, first of all, got to ask you how you're feeling today. You know, less than 24 hours removed from a third Super Bowl loss in 11 years, 12 years, yeah,
something like that, yeah. Since I started supporting the 49ers, that was the first year I started getting into the NFL and choosing the 49ers as my team. And 3 Super Bowls, 3 losses. Should get used to it by now, but doesn't get easier. Just good. I think the game was there to be won, and they're just mistakes by some of the 49ers players and the whole team, I feel like, cost them rather than being outplayed during the game. I don't think it was. I don't know if they would have been easier, or if it would be easier if, the Chiefs dominated and it was just a one-sided victory and, they fully deserved to win it. I think that would be a bit easier than how it feels now where, it was there. It was there for the win, but, should get used to it now being anyone who's not a Chiefs fan. It just feels, as we've said this word plenty of times, inevitable that they're going to win. And it feels like, we're back to how it felt like with the Patriots and, and if they were playing someone else and they'd won, I think I could have been like, I would see some joy in another team winning and seeing someone like getting the praise and getting that win. But now it's just like with the Chiefs when it's just like, it's them again.
It's crazy. It's crazy because when I suppose we got to this point when the Chiefs started their ascent, it was like, we've got some competition in the AFC, and that's so maybe the Chiefs can compete and kind of be a team to kind of that can stop the Patriots a bit more successfully. And what's the quote from The Dark Knight, the Batman film? You either die here or live long enough to become the villain. And that's kind of what's happened with the Chiefs, isn't it? That they are the villains now, and they absolutely love it. 3-5. Look, we can sit here and spout stats about Patrick Mahomes all day long, but until somebody can find a way to beat this guy, I can't see it changing anytime soon. It's just this is probably the worst, and it feels bad saying worst team that they've had, but it has been in the 5 years, and yet they've found a way to win time and time and time again. 3 playoff games in a row as underdogs, and they've won outright. 3 Super Bowls being 10 points down, being 2 scores down in the Super Bowl, all 3 times, winning. It is absolutely insane. How's it feeling then, Joe? Kind of the 3rd time now you're going to go into 7 months of no football off the back of a Super Bowl loss. Oh, that's awful.
Yeah. It is awful. I'm sure I'll just forget about it, and then when the new season starts, everyone gets their hopes and dreams that they're going to win it again. So it's like I said, should be used to it now. But they've still got a good team. It doesn't feel like this was their only chance. But there's plenty of teams who lost in the Super Bowl who thought they'd get back at some point and win it, who never get there, and go on plenty of long droughts, not even being close. So there's hope for next year, but it's just one of the things. It's just disappointing.
Yeah, it took 3 seasons, 4 seasons, 3 seasons to get back. I guess from 2019 to 24 seasons, from 2019 to 2023. So, but like you say, they hopefully are set up well. Hopefully this will make you feel a little bit better. So just a quick shout out to the 49er Faithful UK guys. So if you've seen anything from our social media channels, particularly Twitter, I and Jenny came as well, we're there down at Ellen Road for the official 49ers watch party. Just want to say what a fantastic do it was and what a pleasure it was to go hang out with those guys. great bunch of people, even if they get kind of, first time I've ever walked into a pub and been booed before, which is interesting. But it was cool. I'm sure you've seen the picture with you guys. Are you surprised? Thanks, Joe. So some light-hearted banter, but it was cool to kind of see. Got to see some of the guys that have been on the show before. So Scrimmers, Paul, who was in one of our drafts in the off season. Gary Thorpe, who we've had on. Paul Hope, who we had on in the Super Bowl preview episode. So it was cool to kind of see those guys and hang out. But just a shout out for the 49ers Faithful UK guys. That's Paul's the vice president of it. Lee Gowland's the president of it. To kind of get all that organised, mobilise a fan base. There was over 300 people there, I think, on last night, and if you saw the pictures, it was full, big venue. Sky Sports, they had some cameras there that were sending images to Sky Sports, so that they were going on the telly when the Niners had scored, and everyone jumping about. It was a sad room to be in at the end, which is a shame, but everything apart from the result was amazing about that night. So shout out. And Joe, we've got you some merch. We'll pitch you up some stuff, so we'll get this out to Canada for you. So we've got your little 49ers UK badge you can iron onto one of your jerseys. Goes on. She's nice. And we'll pitch you up a nice little do it for the Bay towel as well. So we'll get that sent out to Canada for you. Hopefully that'll make you feel a little bit better. Let's get into the game. Let's start it off. It was, I suppose, not going to break down every play, but real defensive struggle to start with. A lot of errors. It felt a bit sloppy. It felt a bit bitty and the nerves of a big game. But it was kind of, we talked about actually, we feel it might have been a bit of a low-scoring game. And it was only overtime that threatened the overhitting. But, yeah, it was a real kind of back-and-forth struggle, defensive struggle. I suppose, Joe, starting off, where were the chances early on, do you think, that the Niners didn't take? Or was there more you felt the Niners could have done early on when they were on top?
Well, obviously the first drive was like how that game started. It was like, wow, 49ers got a great game plan here and they're exploiting the Chiefs' weaknesses. But then, funny things happen in the Super Bowl and CMC, the main man himself, just inexplicably fumbled. And I think that obviously took a bit of the air out of the play and they struggled a bit going forward. But yeah, I think that was huge because if they could have gone and got some points there, and I think how the defense came out, the 49ers, realistically, that first half, they couldn't have played any better, really. The only play, like the big play they had, which was really should have been intercepted by Gibson, who completely lost the ball, but obviously they fumbled straight afterwards, so obviously didn't make a big problem. So yeah, and they only got the 3 points. So I think realistically, like you couldn't have done anything better on the 49ers defensive wise. I think the issue is that the 49ers just didn't make the Chiefs pay, and you've got to give the Chiefs defense their props as well, because they came out fighting and that getting that fumble at the start, I think, was huge for them. But yeah, it was like you said, it was a struggle, and when you've got both kickers kicking records and all that kind of stuff to get points on, that's how much of a struggle it was. And the only 49ers, like their touchdown was a crazy play, really. Which when it was happening, I was like, "What the hell is happening here?" Jennings throwing it across the field after holding onto the ball for and getting absolutely smoked afterwards. It was crazy. And yeah, I think I don't know if it's tricky. Like you could go each drive and say they could have done something different, but I think they still played well. Obviously, they had like I said, the first drive and the drive where they got the field goal, and then the touchdown where they did put some good drives together. But you come away with 10 points. If you could have got, another 3, another 7 out of some of them. But, I think I was never confident, even at halftime when I think someone asked who was watching with, it's 10-0. You come to, I was like, no, because you're paying the Chiefs who always come back, and the 49ers feel like they always throw away big leads. And you knew sooner or later that the defense couldn't perform that well for the rest of the game. But, Tampa Bay did it a few years ago, so it was a bit like, is it going to be that kind of one of the games? But it feels like they're tired, and yeah, I think for me, the huge injury point was a few, but one of them was Greenlaw just getting injured, just running onto the field, which I feel like, and it just felt like everything went downhill from there, where everyone was just getting injured and like, they're just dropping like flies. But that one especially, because you're taking away, the the tandem of possibly them or the Baltimore, who's got the best linebacking duo, and where the Kansas, where do they eat the most is the middle of the field with Kelsey and Rice. So I think I think that was huge. Greenlaw going down.
Yeah, crazy, like just kind of jumping up and down and took the step out onto the field and completely done his Achilles, ruptured his Achilles. It wasn't just like a pull or anything, he's fully blown his Achilles out. Byron, kind of how did you see those early stages of the game? Sorry, I'm conscious we've had Joe start to pour his heart out. But yeah, how did you see those early stages of the game?
Yeah, I mean, it was, compared to what was to come, I guess it was kind of a slow start, but you don't want to take too much away and kind of knowing what's to come, but like, how huge is that fumble on the opening drive? Obviously, I guess very huge. All fumbles are, but I think if the Niners go on and score there, or especially score a touchdown there, I think the game feels so different. I don't know if Shanahan gets away from the running game as much in time to come, but I think the Niners started real well, and the game plan seemed really solid. And yeah, I don't think there was really too much to worry about. I think it was a tightly contested, obviously, entire game. But yeah, I felt the Niners started better than they finished, I'd probably say.
Yeah, I mean, that first drive, key, the Niners was gashing the Chiefs, and that stuff, 6-yard run, 18-yard pass, 11-yard pass, 11-yard run. That was the drive.
Yeah.
And there was nothing to suggest that the Chiefs were going to stop him. And just, bit of a play. Janelle, and then Karlaftis pick 3 terrible names to try and say in a row, by the way.
I think it was Pennell who got the fist in, to be fair. Which is a sentence to say. So I think he was on a double team, came through and then just punched it out. It was an incredible play, to be fair. And then, Karlaftis, bottom of the pile, fell on it, but...
What? He was being double teamed and he got the fist in. Excellent. It's a family show. But yeah, it just felt like kind of, momentum. And even though it didn't result in points for the Chiefs, it's as if they went down the field and scored, it just kind of, and I don't know if, again, we'll talk about Shanahan being a bit, not gun shy, but just the change, especially in the second half. I thought were massive. I think as well from a Chiefs perspective, I think the Niners got, especially in the first half, so many good looks and so many looks that they wanted.
Yeah.
Against that Chiefs defense. And you know what? Not to say here, I thought Chris Jones in particular made some kind of a few plays in terms of getting pressure or throwing somebody towards Brock Purdy that stopped a couple of touchdown passes.
Yeah.
Like Snead had a good, was it Snead or McDuffie? McDuffie had a pass break up on a third and long to Debo in the end zone. It was McDuffie on it.
Yeah, a great game, Trent McDuffie.
Yeah, but I mean, the Niners got everything they wanted in that first half, and I was just at the halftime going, I know that 10 points isn't enough. Like, it needs to be 17, it needs to be 20. And still, you know what? That's not to say the Chiefs wouldn't have come back from that because we know what they are. But all of a sudden, if you're 14 or 14, 17 points up, because that's how it felt that first half was in terms of how dominant the Niners was, or were, I should say. That it really felt like that should be where the game is. And, from a Chiefs perspective, you take that. They were having crisis meetings on the touchline. Kelsey was running over Andy Reid. That's a big guy to knock around as well. There were, inexplicable personal foul penalties. I think it was a horse collar on Purdy. There's the Snead slap. Why do you slap somebody who's got a helmet on? It always baffles me. The one that retaliates always is the one that gets called. And it was just the bit of ill discipline, and ultimately the Niners just didn't punish the Chiefs in the first half. Leave them hanging around. Kind of, what's coming. So as that takes us to halftime, I guess let's ask, what did you make of Usher before we move on to the second half?
I think Joe was a bigger fan of it than we were. I've never been a huge Usher fan. It seemed fine. I just wasn't pumped for it, I guess. It wasn't Maroon 5, so it wasn't like, oh my god, get this shit off the screen. But it was just kind of on for me, which again is better than some of the shows have been. But I wasn't sat going, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever seen, because I'm not an Usher.
You were singing, oh my god.
Did he sing it? I can't even remember what he sang truthfully.
Yeah.
I remember it kind of got going when Alicia Keys came on, and then turned down for what was on, white boy anthem, up there with Mr. Brightside, I think, of big white boy anthems. But I don't know. like I said, it wasn't really for me. I guess I'm not really an Usher fan, so it seemed fine. He was roller skating around, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah, that was wild. Yeah,
took his top off. Of course, he did.
Mm.
Yeah, I didn't have any huge thoughts on it.
I think looking back, I think I put it there in our group. I think I give it an 8. I think looking back, I'll give it a 7.
Ooh.
I think I'll give it a 7. You know, he sung live. There's been plenty of people who's been accused of miming during the halftime shows or like certain shows. So I think, you know, dancing away, he must be in his 40s, 50s. So
45. Yeah, I looked at
45.
I thought he was going to be like over 50. Yeah.
Yeah. And it feels like he hasn't aged for the last 20 years. So, you know, but I think it was just good performance all around. I think he's got plenty of bangers. You know, I think like what Byron said, he's not a huge fan. I knew quite a few of his songs. I wouldn't say I'm a massive Usher fan, but I think when he was big, that was my going out like teenager to go out drinking. So there's plenty of songs. I thought it was great. You know, getting Ludacris and Little John in there, and Alicia Keys. So, you know, I don't think you could ask for much else. Really played all his hits. Everyone went crazy. So yeah, not going to complain at that.
Yeah, 3 out of 10 for me. I watched it back today because I didn't really watch it. I was talking about kind of the first half of the guys. While I was asked, I had 3 out of 10. It was awful. It was terrible. It's like the first, you could just get rid of the first half of it as well because it was just rubbish. And then it picked up a bit. Alicia Keys saved it. I mean, it should have just been Alicia Keys. She should have just done the halftime show. Would have been a lot better. But yeah, I do get the point. You know, sings, dances. That's pretty cool.
Alicia Keys by herself, just heard no one else.
Yeah. I've always thought it was a strange choice as well. Anyway, like maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, would have been time for Usher. But yeah, wasn't for me. Let's get into the second half, and I guess overtime as the game went on. It started to open up a little bit more. The Chiefs still really struggled offensively in the second half. Kind of felt they'd get kind of the double possession that might be the killer and what gets them going, and it didn't really. That didn't really happen. We got to the
exception,
and that was really poor. And kind of started off that drive with the pitch to Pacheco, which just seemed a bad. Like you've been sat down for 45 minutes. You know, whatever it is, 45 minutes. That's the first play from scrimmage that you choose. You know, when you're still a bit, you know, you might not be warmed up when you're not got the pace of the game back and stuff like that. Seemed a strange one. Pacheco had a bit of a rough night, didn't he? I think he personally might have fumbled the ball like 3 times.
It felt like the Chiefs got away with. There was like a few times where there's a few fumbles and they managed to recover, or it felt like they had to bounce the ball. And I don't know if anyone else knows. It felt like every single snap from Humphries was like so low to
his ankles.
Every single throw was like at his ankles, so it was like crazy. Like I think even I've heard like Romo didn't have the greatest announcement because I think he mentioned like, it's a when Mahomes actually fumbles, like, it's not like Creed Humphrey to do a bad snap. And he's like, have you not been watching all this game? He's literally been snapping it around his ankles like every single play. I'm there thinking like he's got to fumble one of these at some point, but yeah, start with that. Yeah, and I think that's where for me was disappointing is where you get the interception, you know, you go 3 and out. You get the punt after, you know, it was probably a bad spot for Kelsey, but then you stuff Pacheco.
The Chiefs got. Yeah. We were talking about the refs. The refs are all for the Chiefs. There's 2 on the Kelsey one that probably wasn't well, but it would have been like 3rd and inches rather than 3rd and 1, and a Pacheco one that definitely looked like he got the first down, or the other way around. Can't remember, but yeah.
And then obviously they put it there, and again the 49ers just went 3 and out. So that's where, wasn't the greatest. It felt like the 49ers was getting in their own way. It felt like every single first down was going either nowhere or minus yards. So suddenly it was like 2nd and 15, or they were giving penalties away, or it's like a 3rd and 18 where it just felt like that's where they lost it. And then I think we were about giving it to McCaffrey to run, but I think they even did that and he just got stuffed on, the first play. And it felt like as soon as they didn't get like a big chunk on first down, you would like, well, they're just going to put this back. And I think that's what the most disappointing thing. And you were just keeping the Chiefs in it because they were going 3 and out. And obviously they went 3 and out again. And I think probably the biggest turning point was that punt. and that's what I mean about like the luck where it just bounces off, the 49ers heel. Talk about Achilles heel with plenty of 49ers players. And the Chiefs come up with it. And it felt like that all game where they weren't just getting the look of the bounce and that kind of, even like Ray McLeod had a chance to actually pick it up and he couldn't get hold of it. And
why do you not just falling on it? Why are you not just falling? He was trying to like pick it up and run with. Why are you not just falling on that? And
I think it's what we're not in that position. He's not expecting it to come off the 49ers heel, and it's a split decision. So I'm not going to get on Ray McLeod for that.
I do think as well, like if you try and fall on the ball and don't get it, you give up a touchdove.
But I mean,
like
maybe.
If you try and actually control the ball, it's in your hand. Whereas falling on it, I do think is always a bit riskier. If you've no choice, fair enough. But I think he could have. I don't think it was unreasonable for him to try and corral the ball.
And
I think that was a huge turning point. Yeah, because the Chiefs weren't doing anything. I know they got the field goal where they actually before the halftime where they actually did something. Before that, it was 3 and out. Well, interception, 3 and out. 3 and out again, so after halftime, then you had the punt, you got it, and straight away you got a touchdown, and it's somehow the Chiefs were up at that point. I was like, how the hell has this happened? It was,
touchdown was to MVS, wasn't it? It was just straight away after the fumble, and then I mean, MVS wasn't the only one. We saw guys that maybe we didn't expect to see as much in this game have huge plays. I mean, we've seen a lot of Juwan Jennings, I think, over the time, but he had the game of his life. Juwan Jennings, he's never going to play as good as this again, whether it was, receptions, on third down, obviously the touchdown pass that hung in the air for what felt like forever. He got a penalty in overtime that kept the drive going to allow them to score the field goal. He was just, a huge, huge part. Conley as well, he made a key catch. Two real good special teams plays, down the punt at the one, an instant. Just these guys that maybe you're not expecting to have an influence. Juszczyk, maybe saw more of him than you'd usually see in a game as well. You had a couple of big plays. You had the first one in the first half for 18 yards. You had another one for another 10, 15 yards. Ran for a first down as well, and just all these guys that stepped up.
And Purdy relies on all his stars every game, so because I think because I was saying I think at one point I think it was the Conley one. His three wide receivers was Jennings, Ray McLeod, and Conley was his 3 wide receivers, and he managed to hit a huge third and whatnot. But you go ahead, Paul.
Ray McLeod made it. I think he had a 20-yard catch as well. But let's talk about one of the stars, and in particular, the lack of usage of him, especially in that third quarter. What stopped the Niners from running the ball? And we talked about this. It was if the Niners got away from it, they could get in trouble. We didn't see. We felt like we didn't see McCaffrey for an hour and a half because obviously the halftime and then the way the Niners started the third quarter, they just refused to run the ball.
I think what the issue is, so the first 2 drives after halftime, they just started with negative plays, and when you start with negative plays, you can't then play the play action and get McCaffrey involved. I think it was the third one just after the field goal from the Chiefs where they did have McCaffrey, but again, it was stuffed for 0 yards. So I think, I feel like the Chiefs must have, adjusted at halftime and they just took that away. And I think the 49ers, especially the first 2, thought, we'll try and get some passes. Because I think with the 49ers, they're a team where, and I think this for most teams, the passing game helps the running game. I don't always think it's the other way around, where if you can get a few big plays passing, then you can bring in the running McCaffrey, and then you can keep flipping it. And I think they just got away from that. And then the first downs were just going for minus plays, and then we just got to have to throw this now. There's no way we can, run this. So I think that was the biggest disappointment. But I think it was them 3. But even after the touchdown from the Chiefs, suddenly out of nowhere, the 49ers went 12 plays for 75 yards for 6 minutes. And we've talked about this, and this one knows with Shanahan, they can do that kind of stuff where they bleed 7 minutes from the clock and go all the way down. But then they can also go, 3 and out in a row to start the second half. It felt like inevitable.
Yeah, I think for me, it was probably a frustration of everyone I was in the room with, that they just, and you expertly called out the reason why there, Joe, but they were just, is Shanahan getting in his head again? Sort of, a lot of criticism of him, but I think as a whole, the game plan did work really well, and it's just those couple of moments that made the difference. But yeah, there was a lot of calls for not saying calls said, but just real frustration with him. Why are we not running the ball? Sort of piece. And I think, and we'll get into, because we start talking about the fourth quarter and overtime. Take overtime out of the equation. McCaffrey had 9 touches on that overtime drive. I think 8 touches. So in the 4 quarters, he only touched the ball 22 times, 16 rushes for 6 catches. Is that enough? When we talked about it, key to get him involved as much as possible. In the end, he's touched the ball 30 times. So I get that, but that's because we had an extra quarter.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? In 4 quarters, you're rushing him 4 times a quarter. For someone that's ranked 4 yards, is that enough?
Yeah. I would say you are against the Chiefs, though, and that's a problem. I think when you watch the game, especially the second half, they dominated that offensive line, where I think they had the most amount of free runners at a quarterback.
They had their highest of the season, 9 untouched pressures.
Yeah, and I think it's easy still why they're not running, but it's also like, well, the Chiefs probably think, well, they're going to run. So,
and to be fair, sorry, just to back you up here, Joe, L'Jarius Sneed came out and said, we want Brock Purdy to throw the ball.
Yeah.
They sat with 7, 8, 9 men on the line.
Mm-hmm. Because their secondary is outstanding.
Yeah, and no disrespect to Purdy especially, but Christian McCaffrey's more dangerous than he is. In the Chiefs' opinions, at least, that's why they're doing it. Do you run into a bare front, 3 and out, or do you try and take what you're given? I think that's one of the things Shanahan offenses do especially well 99% of the time, is they take what they're given. Hit the open man, and then that allows you to run with Christian McCaffrey. I don't think they're ever in a position of go ahead, beat us. I think they're so skilled at taking what defenses give them, but like Joe says, that Chiefs secondary is so good, and there's nowhere to run.
Yeah,
it's brutal.
Yeah. Second half, they definitely stepped up. As I mentioned earlier, Chris Jones was absolutely outstanding, but he wasn't the only one.
It's crazy. He's probably won them. I know everyone gives it to Mahomes, but the last 2 Super Bowls, it feels like Chris Jones has been the difference.
Even in this playoff run, if he doesn't push the Bills O lineman into Josh Allen, Bills might win that game.
Yeah,
and certainly
why can't he just go somewhere else for more money? You know what I mean? Why does he have to these dodgy contracts with Kansas? Why couldn't he have just
Well, that's interesting because he might find they're in the same situation again.
Yeah.
But with the Chiefs where they are now, I think they're at that point where people are going to take less money and people are going to take friendly deals to be like, I can win. I've got a chance of a ring. And that's the point where they're at now. I think that might be, everyone knows how good Mahomes is, isn't the secret, but you've won 3 and 5 now. It's like people who might say, well, I'll take a little, I can take a bit less money because I've got the chance to win. And, they've got a lot of free agents and I don't see many, if any of them going, are the important ones to do that. But kind of just back to your part, I get it, the Chiefs and Spagnuolo deserves a huge shout out again for what he crafted, dialed up the blitzes, especially in that second half. And just, tried to give, Purdy problem after problem. I thought Purdy had a pretty good game as well, to be fair. I don't think you can sit there and say there's that much he did wrong. Or the open receivers he missed were because the Chiefs got pressure to him and didn't allow him to do it, at the end on the third down that they ended up kicking the field goal for. Ayuk's free in the end zone, had a shot to hit Jennings, but again,
Chris Jones is here.
He makes the play. He made the play. Jones made the play on the one on Debo. Debo looked like he had a step and was in the end zone again. Chris Jones, the pressure to make sure that throw wasn't clean. And shout out, I can't remember which Kansas cornerback was, who managed to avoid cleaning out the photographer with the leap. Yeah.
I'm not sure who that was actually, but yeah, it was a great hurdle.
Sneed or McDuffie, but this had to be nasty because that guy, he might have killed that guy because it was That'd have been full knee to the face, traveling at.
I was kind of surprised as well because I seen it in slow mo, and yet still didn't check their jersey. Like the photographer didn't like duck or anything. He kind of like stood there proud. It's like, bro, you're not in a, I always think of like a Braveheart, when they stood there with the spikes or whatever to get the horses, and like, so just fucking duck out the way, man. The picture's not that important. We don't need to see, Trent McDuffie's junk that much. But maybe that's why I'm not a photographer. I've got the commitment.
Mate, well, sometimes you just got to stay in the pocket. You got to stay in the pocket and make the play.
Clearly.
And then, sort of, Joe, I think probably when the Niners got the ball with 6 minutes to go, how were you feeling? I mean, were you confident that they were going to be able to?
No, never confident. No. Never confident. I thought like they've got a shot because, like we mentioned, the drive before the wasted 6 minutes on the clock, including going for fourth down as well, which is such not a Shanahan move. Where they were 3 points down with just starting the fourth quarter. Where were they now? They're like they were like on the Kansas 15, 4 from 3. I know that Shanahan most of the time goes for a field goal there, so I was shocked that I went obviously getting the touchdown, missing the extra point again. Can't be a 49ers fan without some dodgy special teams or some hurt after scoring a touchdown. Don't know how we didn't get it.
And that was just a kick as well. It wasn't like Moody just.
And Moody had a great game as well. Yeah. He made some absolute nails kick. So yesterday I had the opportunity, obviously. It really came down because it felt like they were wasting the clock and obviously going to the 2-minute warning. That was huge, that 3rd and 5 just after the 2-minute warning. Because if they hit that, then you've got... Well, I don't know if it'll game over because Chiefs still had 2
timeouts,
2 timeouts. So if you didn't get another first down, you probably could get it down to a minute. And if you kick a field goal, for example, Mahomes has still got a minute to go down the field to just kick a field goal, which, I wouldn't be surprised. But when that happened, I was like, oh, we've lost this. This is where the touchdowns come in just because, again, it was Mahomes with just under 2 minutes with 2 timeouts. And it was absolutely a nail of a kick from Moody as well to get that. I was in, what was it, 53 yards, 2 over 50 yards. That was huge.
Especially after he'd missed the previous XP.
That's the point.
Exactly,
Such a nails kick.
And it was right down the middle as well. So, got to give him props for that.
Because the overtime one, he shanked it a bit, and that didn't. It was only 27 yards, so he was never going to miss it. But that was a lot closer to the post, whereas the 250-yard ones were straight down Broadway, so to speak, straight down the middle. But the blitz again. Go back to Spagnuolo, the blitz to actually we're going to pressure Purdy on this 3rd and 5, and it was
such a great play call.
Yeah, and it was McDuffie who was in Purdy's face, and he just obviously couldn't get the ball out.
I think even like Romo said, it was like. You would just not know that. You wouldn't know that's pressure if you were playing because I think he showed that he takes a step back just before he snaps and then goes. It's that's just what they do. But it's that kind of thing. Like the first down, they got like 5 yards. You think okay, just like that's simple play. But again, it's the incomplete Kittle, and it's that where that's like the kind of difference where if they get that, then we could be talking about the 49ers Super Bowl, but. Just because I think the defense was pretty gassed by then. I think we talked. It was just inevitable, and I was surprised they didn't score the touchdown going. Down the field because I was like, well, that's it. To be honest, and
the Chiefs are so good in those situations, aren't they? In terms of getting the ball down the field so quickly, like they were into field goal. So they started the drive with 1:53 left. With a minute left, they got to the point where it was a 50-odd yard field goal or 52-yard field goal. So that point for Butker. And then you've still got a minute and the 2 timeouts at that point. I was real surprised that they didn't go for so they had the 2 plays with 10 seconds. So they had it with 10 seconds to go. They had the 1 play to Kelsey on the back shoulder. And with 6 seconds, I think that's enough time. I was really surprised they didn't go for it. They had Rashee Rice open on when he threw it to Kelsey on the kind of the sort of back shoulder style throw. Rice was open in the middle and would have walked in to win it. But Kelsey, again, kind of showed up big. That kind of second half where he was so frustrated in the first half. Second half. Did you not see?
Didn't show, no.
Didn't notice. But obviously Greenlaw, key. And then the second half, Kelsey just took over the game, didn't he? What was he? 8 grabs for one yard less than his total. So whatever that was, 90 odd, I think it wasn't it. So 93. So it was 8 grabs for 92 yards.
Yeah.
From there onwards, and the middle of the field was open. Rice started getting some grabs over the middle of the field. Kelsey, and then crazy start. I'm sure you saw it. So since they started measuring how fast the players run, and the next gen or whatever it's called, that was as quick as Travis Kelce's ever been recorded running on that reception, which is crazy. And people are talking about him retiring. I don't think so. And he lowered the shoulder as well before going out of bounds.
I thought he might take it all the way in, truthfully, once he got going. And yeah, it wasn't just his fastest in 7 years. Like 7 years have been tracking it in next gen. I think it was just under 20 miles, 19.7 miles an hour, I think it was. His previous quickest in the playoffs was 16.8. Well, fucking hell, he's like, what age is he? 34? No, he's older than that, I think. But anyway, and he's suddenly finding 3 miles an hour in the Super Bowl.
We're going to see a Travis Kelce PED ban.
I think what annoyed me about that last drive, just a bit, there's a few Mahomes scrambles where it felt like the players just didn't want to tackle him at some point. I think it's obviously it's the issue around tackling quarterbacks, and if you're going for a big hit and then someone just slide and you absolutely wipe them out, you're giving them 15 yards. But there's a few where he's taking that run, just hit him. Just like if we're like Greenlaw, for example, just like take him out of his shoes and it'll not scramble again. And this is what's like frustrating because I feel like the 49ers defensive line dominated the Chiefs offensive line. This is probably the worst offensive line they've had since they lost the last Super Bowl. And they had pressure on Mahomes. And Chase Young, who's not performed at all, might have actually got himself a big contract from some scrambling team who thinks he's still a first round head. But yeah, I can see like the Bears or someone like that just spending massive amount of money on him.
It's more money than send somebody. There's plenty of them.
Yeah. You're right, that line, and we called that out, I think, in the preview, that the Niners D-line needed to step up because it had been ran on and it needed to get pressure on Mahomes, and it got everything you wanted out of it. I think it got pressure up the middle. Bosa, and particularly Bosa, but they kept that lane discipline where they didn't really let him get out of the pocket, and if he did, he was going backwards, so he wasn't kind of creating those big backyard football style plays. He couldn't really run out until much later on in the game. Got everything you wanted from a pressure and D-line discipline perspective. And and it still wasn't enough, which is insane. Armstead had a big game, I thought, as well. I thought he was just a wrecking ball in the middle. He had a real game. Bosa, even though he didn't get the stats, he didn't get the sacks and things like that, but
pressure all day.
He was great, and I think...
And to be fair, I don't know if Joe's going to throw out the referee and what have you. Like, I think it was generally a well-called game, but and you see it with the great edge rushers. It felt like Donovan Smith just had a hold of Nick Bosa's jersey every time he was on that side of the field. Like, it kind of is just the cost of being a great edge rusher. You see it with Garrett, you see it with Parsons every single snap, it feels like. But
I feel like when
it's still all the money in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
I feel like in the Super Bowl, it has to be like...
Yeah, drag him to the ground or something.
Yeah, there was some like 49ers almost got hold, and it was like obvious because they'd ran outside and they've stopped him from going. Yeah. But when it's more like they're coming in and if they're doing like the swim move or they're going low, they're not going to call just an arm. Because I think it's something about if the OT's feet are still moving, then it's like a grey area and all that kind of stuff. I've seen a few 49ers fans compare the refs, but there's I think the crazy trick they play for the 49ers touchdown shouldn't have technically have counted because there was an offensive man down for. So I think I think he was actually the refs didn't cost anyone the game this time. So
must be nice about the refs. Crazy. What did you make of the decision, Joe, for the Niners, given the changing the overtime rules for the playoffs? What did you make about the Niners taking the ball, winning the toss and taking the ball? What would you wanted them to do?
It's tricky because obviously this is the first time it's happened, so I was a bit unsure what I would have gone. I've seen what Shanahan said, his reasoning, and it's like, okay, fair enough, because they were like saying if they score a touchdown and then the other team score a touchdown, he probably didn't think they would go for two. Like if they kicked it, then it's in the 49ers' hands to be next score wins.
Yeah.
So that makes sense, but obviously to the other way that the other team is not going to go. You haven't played their hand where if there's a fourth down, they've got to go for it. So, I think if the 49ers scored a touchdown there, then I don't think anyone would have been complaining, because the Chiefs said they would have gone for 2, and then that's just it's one play to win the Super Bowl, and you might take that. But who knows in that situation? So I think it's tricky. I don't mind it either way, to be honest. Like if they'd kicked it to the Chiefs and the Chiefs had went down, scored a touchdown, and then the 49ers went falling out, people would have been complaining like, oh, why did you give the Chiefs the momentum to get a touchdown? So that means, because I don't think if 49ers had scored a touchdown back, they wouldn't have gone for 2. They would have kicked it and carried on the game. So yeah, it is what it is. I think people might see it different going forward, because this is the first time. So I'm not going to kill him for that. They had the chances. They literally marched down the field for 7 minutes. They were lucky to get that hole to continue the drive, and they were on the Chiefs 7 line. And if you can't punch it in there, then you're giving the Chiefs the opportunity, which they did. Because it felt like they were going to get a field goal anyway. So, and I was curious if the 49ers managed to hold them to 4th down when they were like on the 10-yard line, what the Chiefs would have done, and how that would have played if they would have gone for the field goal to give it back to the 49ers, or if they would have said, go out and win it. So, it is what it is.
I do think as well, like, the context of the game is important as well. Like, I think if it's 38-38, you want the ball second, because you're almost certainly going to concede a touchdown. So you want to go and be able to win it. The Chiefs had scored 1 touchdown at that point.
And that was after the punt as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I think some of the 49ers comments about not being prepared for it seem a little naive and underprepared, obviously. But, like, I think in reality, if you want to give up 1 touchdown, like you said, from a busted punt anywhere in the entire game, I don't think it's really the hanging the fence to have faith in your defense to not give up a touchdown on the opening drive. Like,
and the Chiefs had literally just had that huge drive to take to overtime. So you put your defense back on the field. While and you've just gassed the Chiefs. You've had a few long drives, and they did look tired on that last drive where McCaffrey took over, and he actually felt like, oh wow, they've actually tired them out, and they're starting to get some big plays. And it's just that that getting to the 7-yard line, you just got down to win it, basically. Well, not to win it, but at least give yourself a chance. And then it's not like Mahomes just needs to score a touchdown to win. They need to score a touchdown and then the 2 points, which I think is a whole new ball. And they may have still done it, but it puts that extra pressure on. And well, they probably would have, but it gives
someone who
that
bet
extra.
On the Kelsey Octopus, I was kind of hoping for the 49ers touchdown, because like, do you any chance I've got here? Come on. And it seemed like it was written if it was going to happen, but obviously it didn't.
On that, as you touched on, McCaffrey took over. He touched the ball 8 times. That was probably a bit of not frustration for me. Obviously, I'm not a 49ers fan, but I was just like, could they have not committed to this earlier on? And would they have not got a bit more joy with it? And again, I get the reasons why. It just feels like, is it a bit late? And I think for me, the moment I sort of knew the Chiefs weren't going to win is when the Chiefs, when the Chiefs were going to win is, I fully expect them to win it in regulation, but when they don't convert that 3rd down and kick the field goal and leave Holmes almost 2 minutes in two timeouts, I was like, there's no way the Niners are going to hold on here. I had to go to overtime, but talk about legacy drives, insane. Nobody's did what Patrick Mahomes has done on that drive. 8 for 8, and he rushed for 27 yards. No quarterback's done that on a drive ever, I believe. That was from Good Morning Football today. 8 for 8, rush for 27 yards. No quarterback's ever done that on a drive before. And he does it in the biggest moment, when the pressure is at its most. Everything was in his hands. The 4th down, there was no way Pacheco was getting that ball. Nobody else was getting that ball, apart from Patrick Mahomes. And just, he finds new ways, I think, not to surprise us, because you know how good he is, but he just feels like, does it ever feel there's going to be a moment where you think this is it? Or these? It
was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy that scramble as well, because Bosa massively won on that line, and if he gave it to Pacheco, that play was going to get blown up. But that's why Reid and Mahomes are probably the best offensive coach quarterback ever. So it's it's not fair when you got Steve Spagnuolo, who has won 4 Super Bowls now as a coordinator, but I know we chatted about he had a bit of a terrible time being a head coach, and some coaches are, their level is being a coordinator, and that's their level. It just feels unfair that they've got,
best
that
DC
kind
in the
of
business.
best DC, and then suddenly you got probably second best defensive tackle, and then suddenly they've just drafted really well, getting all these rookie cornerbacks and their defenses. And I think that's the worrying part, is that defense is probably there to stay, especially the back end. And see, they'll probably keep Jones, like you mentioned, Paul. I think they'll give him incentives and all that kind of stuff. But that offense is only going to get better next year, and I think because they're going to probably spend big on the weapons and maybe getting some offensive tackles, and
another wide receiver will be there.
Or not.
The loaded wide receiver draft.
Maybe they just take another piece away and go, we're going to try and win it again with a piece less.
It's funny, I seen a comment this morning on Twitter of Tyreek Hill is justifiably in the Offensive Player of the Year and essentially the non-quarterback part of the MVP market. And the Chiefs have won back-to-back Super Bowls without him.
And last year it made sense because the offense was still firing. This year it's you just had Rice and Kelsey, but then some, and
that was another one. He's just won a Super Bowl today with Justin Watson. MVS is his leading wide receivers, and he's his own leading rusher.
Yeah,
what are you?
I mean, let's just shout again. A guy that wasn't on the team. He was over in New York, New Jersey. Cole Hardman with a walk-off touchdown. Who didn't even know he realised he'd won the game.
Yeah, which is... I mean, Ami is saying the 49ers may be a bit naive for not knowing how overtime works, and the guy who's catching the winning touchdown apparently doesn't know how it works either. So,
but why are we surprised he predicted it? He predicted it in...
the Mentalist.
The Mentalist in Hard Knocks. Yeah, he said they would play the 49ers in the Super Bowl, and he did.
He did, yeah.
Sorry, Jets.
And he won the game. And again, just another great Andy Reid design play. The fake motion, the motion in and the back, back out. I think it was Ward that got caught. 1-8 Ward went to Kelsey, and
as soon as Kelsey seeing Ward was on him, he's like looking up at the jumbotron celebrating. It was just incredible.
No, they've got it. I mean, I think any talk of there was is Andy Reid going to retire? No, he's not going to retire. He's back for 2024, and he's going to be back for a while. I also thought Andy Reid was like 70 plus. He's not, is he? He's 65. Then we've got a while of Andy Reid to go yet.
Maybe his waistline.
I was going to say, depends how his lifestyle keeps him, I think, because he's not Pete Carroll.
Hey, look, he's probably wise to keep that weight, because if Kelsey's trying to bowl him over every time he gets frustrated, then he's going to need it to stand up to him. Commiserations, Joe. It was a heartbreaking way to lose, and the Niners did play so well as well on the whole. Just those little bits of a difference.
I think what the worst thing is I think it's just being a British sports fan in general. All this week, I was like, we're definitely going to lose. I'm using a very optimistic person in life with everything else, but anything to do with sport, no matter which team, if the favourites or whatnot, I just expect to lose. But it's when they give you that glimmer of hope that, I could actually celebrate and possibly win this. But it was like, oh no, I expected this. This is being a sports fan coming from England or Britain. It just feels like that's just, there's not many times we get to celebrate. So, like I said, I should be used to this by now, being being British and supporting all the different kind of sports we enjoy.
Yeah, it was a sad room at Ellen Road, but the Niners guys took it pretty well, to be fair. Some very emotional ones, but I think in the main, they took it on the chin, and sort of the attitude was, we'll be back. We'll be back to the Super Bowl soon enough. So yeah,
the favourites next year.
Yeah, yes, we'll talk about that a little bit. Let's have a roundup of the bets then, shall we? Our final one. I just want to shout out, by the way, I had a pretty kind of middling, generic, okay NFL season. I've been electric in the playoffs.
I like the thing that you want to shout out is how good you are.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody else shout you out, and I'll take the win to you.
It's my last chance. Do you remember like week one review when I was saying I was Mr. 60-odd% or whatever it was?
Yeah, I think we all remember. Yeah, 67%.
Mr. 67%. Well,
you got back your t-shirt, haven't you?
Yeah,
a specialized jersey.
I have, yeah. I put it away very quickly. Well, in the playoffs, I've been Mr. 76%. 13-4 on obviously the spreads and totals, which is the bread and butter. 5-2 wild card, 3-1 divisional, 3-1 conference, 2-0 Super Bowl. Yeah, and that's taken me to an end of season record of 56%. So that's kind of where you want to be as a to have a real good run at 27 units up. So pretty good on the air. I'll take that. It's off a lot of bets though. 95, 75, and 4 was the final record. But we got there. I'll take it.
Is that just NFL? Yeah, not college as well.
We don't need to mention college. That's on the next tab. Oh, yeah, it wasn't so good. 108, 138, and 8. Not as good.
Oh. So NFL though, we're talking. So
this is an NFL podcast. Yeah. 95, 75, and 4. I'll take it. But I had a very predictable. I was screwed on the Anthem over under. I was on over. It was like 100. It was like 1 minute 38, 1 minute 39, and they were like, "No, she had an extra line." It's bullshit. And not paid out. So most bookies, or certainly those across the pond, have paid out on both because of the controversy, but not here. Scumbags. Won't name any names. But apart from that, I had the Chiefs. I had to keep that quiet. I was on the Chiefs +2. The under, thankfully, we don't kick the extra point after the touchdown in overtime. 47, it was 47.5. I had pretty good. I had Kelsey over yards, that Juwan Jennings over yards as well. I was so close as well in the build. I had because the over 2.5 players to throw a pass was like 15 to 1 or something, and I was like, oh, maybe CMC or something. I don't know.
I didn't bet it, but over 2.5 for a touchdown was 3,500.
Yeah, wild. Yeah. I had a couple of misses like CMC, two touchdowns. He only got the one, didn't he? And then I had missed kick. That was nice. Yeah, missed field goal / PAT. So thanks, Jake Moody, for that one. We hit heads, cheering for head on the coin toss. That was more an Al Snow reference than a 90s that we don't look.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Family show, Paul. Family show.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. I was wrong on the Gatorade bath. I think it was purple.
It was the favourite, yeah. Even though they didn't show it for ages.
Yeah.
It took for ages to get anti.
Yeah, I was on clear or water for the bath. And I had Kelsey first reception as well. Kelsey first Chiefs reception. That was like 2 to 1 as well. So, and both teams to have a successful fourth down conversion as well, which was 2 to 1. So yeah, pretty profitable night for me. I hit 8 different bets, so pretty good night. How did we get on, gents?
I missed all I had the Chiefs +2 from earlier in the week. I had the car use check ones we've done on the podcast. I think it was over 0.5 reception, over 3.5 yards, which hit on the third play of the game or something like that. It's first drive, certainly.
First reception.
But yeah, I think they were the only ones I really hit. I had the Kelsey MVP, Kelsey Octopus bet. I think the Octopus was a great value, to be fair, 30 to 1. For him to score a touchdown and get the 2 point if it went. Because again, I guess the scoring was about where we expected. I did pick the under, so I can't say it was wildly a narrower game than I expected. I guess there was more field goals than I thought there would be. A couple more touchdowns I was expecting. But yeah, I still think that's a good value, even if it didn't hit. And I had MVS, a really annoying one to get over 25 yards, I think. And on that catch where he had 8 yards, I think, or 6 yards, he ended up getting -3. So it went from hitting to losing the bet because he decided to run backwards 9 yards rather than just falling on the ground where he got first contacted. And yeah, I did have MVS in the race to 20 receiving yards, which didn't hit. But again, I love the value. It was 2,200. And just how involved he is in this game script, I thought that was a nice bet, but obviously didn't pay off.
Yeah. Joe, how was your luck? I'm sorry, yours.
Yeah, didn't hit any. I got close. I did put, so Meg asked me to do the Gatorade. She went red / pink. Obviously, that didn't hit. I had Elijah Mitchell again at anytime touchdown scorer. He had a few more runs than I expected. I think he had 4 rushes or something like that. I had 2. Yeah, 2 rushes, but he definitely came on one where they were close to the goal line, but that was a +800, and I thought, sometimes, especially the long drives, you can try. 2 of my parlays were close. Debo basically let me down in both. So I had one where I hit on Noah Gray over 1.5 receptions and MVS to get over 19.5 Russian receiving yards, and it hit 20 with that -3. By Debo of 80 yards Russian receiving, I think he only got 40, and obviously him getting injured as well was another. Just felt like everyone was getting injured for the 49ers. And then
Kittle went out as well. We didn't talk about it. went out for a bit. Yeah.
So, and then my other parlay, which I Juice going over 3.5 receiving yards, which straight away. I had Jennings over 40.5. I had Armstead to record a sack, which he did as well. And then I just needed Debo to score anytime touchdown, but he didn't really have a. Well, I had the sniff. And then I did try and go for one where a missed kick would hit the post or crossbar. Obviously, just got blocked instead. So,
yeah, a kickoff had a doink though, didn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't wonder if that counted. I wasn't sure what the phrasing was, but yeah, missed kick. That's a bit more annoying.
Yeah. Let's have a look. We did our little Super Bowl picks competition between us, which was the categories. We'll just run. I think was Byron the runaway winner. Yeah.
Yeah. Got one wrong.
Got one wrong. So so Byron, you were on the Chiefs +2 under.
Should have parlayed this.
Yeah, you could parlay. You'd be fortunate. Heads. Touchback on kickoff. I picked yes in this and then bet no. Don't know why I did that.
Yeah, I was thinking that when I saw your bet.
Well, I just thought it was like 2.5 to 1. I was like, oh yeah, maybe not. And then it was Butker, and then he kicked it about 300 yards out the back of the end zone. High scoring quarter. It was the fourth quarter. First TD CMC over 7.5 punts. There were a lot of punts. 3.5 field goals. 2-point attempt was the one that you missed out on, and Patrick Mahomes, MVP, and yeah, we all got the Usher song wrong.
What was the opening song?
It was.
I did watch it. I'm not too familiar, I guess.
It caught up.
That's
what it was. Yeah.
Well, at least I'm caught up now. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and then Joe, I guess in our picks competition, as I was on the Chiefs, this one. Let's do this. Actually, I forgot about this. Oh, I nearly went the perfect 8-0. So Byron, you got to a respectable 3-5 in the end. You went 1-1 in the Super Bowl with the Chiefs +2 and Kelsey anytime touchdown. Feels weird. Kelsey didn't score a touchdown. Joe, you had CMC anytime touchdown scorer, and then you were on the Niners. So you've gone 1-1 to finish 4-3-1. And I got the under, and I was on Pacheco anytime touchdown scorer. So I went 7-1, almost a perfect 8-0. But yeah, good to win one. Good to win one. And in fact, I didn't just win one, 1-2. I got the playoff picks competition as well, didn't I? I were on the Chiefs, you were on the Niners. 8-5, and you'd be 7-6, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And Byron, where were you? One more behind?
No idea. Truthfully, I had a terrible start, so probably like 2-10. I'll 2-9 or something. I don't know what the number is I'm looking for.
So I won 2 competitions, and you both won 1 each, yeah, over the course of the season. Yeah, okay. Right. I suppose what we should do is we'll have a very quick look before we sign off the end of the season with the odds for next season. And let's just have a little look. So, Joe, how are you feeling? Do you think it's right that the Niners are favourites? They're 5-1 favourites to win Super Bowl 49. Super Bowl 59.
Yeah, I would say probably the main reason they're in the NFC. So I think that's why they're favourites. They're still, in our top 3 or 4 teams who you would expect to be in the NFC Championship, and it's a lot easier division when compared to the AFC with all the basically lost the quarterbacks. The top 10 quarterbacks are in the AFC now, and then you've got Jim Harbaugh Chargers. We'll all think the Chargers are going to do well again with the same off season, and you've got all the AFC like AFC North. So it makes sense just because the NFC just feels the weaker division. Especially when you look at the quarterbacks, even like the top teams, the quarterbacks are not, when you think Dak, Purdy, Goff, Jalen Hurts, they aren't the top 5 quarterbacks you would name straight away. So that's probably why.
Yeah. And you're not paying Brock Purdy still?
Yep. Yeah.
It really helps.
It does help for sure. So the Niners 5-1, then we got the Chiefs 7-1 going for a 3-peat. 7-1 seems really good value.
Yeah, long time to wait for a payout is the only reason you wouldn't put it on, I think.
Yeah. Ravens 9-1, and then Bills 10-1. And then you've got 12-1. Everybody else. Cowboys are 16-1, just for our perspective. And you can go as far as the 250-1, which seems very short odds for the Carolina Panthers. Doesn't feel like that's enough.
Dave Canales is going to have to be some fucking coach. It might be good, but I don't think he's that good.
I'm waiting for the start of the year where Paul picking the Panthers to win the division and Super Bowl.
Yeah,
So
just to be clear, I will not be picking the Panthers to win the NFC South.
they'll probably win it now.
Yeah, spoiler alert. So all those markets have started to come out. We'll get into that a lot closer to when the season starts. We will do our final
early picks or no?
Chiefs. Chiefs.
I like the Texans 2,200.
Yeah, Texans 22-1. Is there any value there? Jets at 28-1 potentially.
I think I shouted the Jets out the 25-1 on DraftKings.
Yeah,
and the 49ers, went hard this year, maybe a year off. Rams 35-1.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah. But yeah, sorry, I don't want to spend too much time on it. I was just having a quick look while you were talking through them.
Packers 22-1 as well seems given the progress they made. Let's do winners and losers. Let's finish off with winners and losers. Do you want to do winners and losers of the Super Bowl or winners and losers of the season? What do you want to do?
Let's do the Super Bowl. Because we'll do the season when we do a review.
Joe, do you want to go first?
With the winner? Let's just go Andy Reid. I think he's cemented. He's definitely in the conversation for the greatest coach ever now. I think even if the probably lost it, he was still there. But now this just puts it there a little bit further. And when you look at his career with what happened with the Eagles, where he couldn't get over the hurdle, it feels like it's got over the hurdle and he's just not stopped running and carrying on. So we'll give it to Andy Reid.
Andy, Byron, your winner?
Travis Kelce. I was just trying to look up the fact here from his streak of 70-plus yard playoffs games is 13 in a row. No player has more than 7 otherwise. Absolutely incredible. He gets to party in Vegas with his incredible brother, is seemingly in love with, the most famous woman in the world. I'm not really sure how life could get much better for Travis Kelce. So, yeah, if he's not the winner of this weekend, I'd love to see who is.
Poor Joe has had to go through losing 3 Super Bowls in 12 years that he's been following the Niners. Taylor Swift turns up and in 21 weeks wins a fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Not fair, is it, mate? It's not fair, Joe.
It's not fair at all. Why can't a little guy win some, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Why can't a little guy, 49ers, why can't a little guy win, 5 times? My win, I guess, only leaves the obvious, doesn't it? It's got to be Patrick Mahomes. It has to be, again.
I've got another big winner is anyone who gets drafted to the Chiefs. Just because, you could be the 63rd best player on that squad and you win in multiple Super Bowls. I think there's like Pacheco is the first player to win, back-to-back Super Bowl in his first 2 seasons, something daft like that, and he's a 7th round. It was something crazy like starting player, so it's just like, just get drafted by the Chiefs and
what was he taking, like 7 or 8 picks before Purdy was?
Yeah, I was going to say, he's definitely 7th round.
Yeah.
Running like a zombie, biting ankles and anything else in between. I love Pacheco. That's an incredible start. Yeah, I had no idea of that.
Oh, and anyone who just gets like, who's someone like Hardman who just can't be a wide receiver in that Jets team, but then somehow still catches the Super Bowl winning catch. It's just not fair. Superstars around the league can't even get to the playoffs, and he just turns up halfway through the season and just wins another Super Bowl.
Randy Moss never won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's almost like it's the comparisons with the Patriots so easy, but that's the kind of thing they used to do, didn't it? Like they'd have like players who then go somewhere else, be absolutely useless, come back, and then
Chris Logan won 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And like Nicole Hardman was asked about, you're only in the Jets, until October, you're there as recent as October, and he's just like, don't remind me. Yeah, don't think New Jersey was a good place to be this year.
Well, look, that's your theme to look out for somebody to go from the Giants or Jets to the Chiefs next year and make the decisive play in the Super Bowl. It was Tony with the punt return and the touchdown last year after the trade from the Giants. It was Hardman coming from the Jets.
It's not just making a play; it's making the play. It's that corn dog. Yeah. It's that exact fucking half motion, reverse it out. And then just defense is just like, what the hell? He's turned back around on me. I don't know what to do here. Just go in the end zone. I don't know what the
Are we saying Daniel Jones next year? Super Bowl MVP for the Chiefs.
He
Comes
could
on
be
a
a better slot
halftime
receiver than a quarterback. Yeah, I could see that.
trick play.
Let's finish up with who your losers. I mean, it's tough this week. I've not got one right now. So, Byron, you can go first. Who's your loser from Super Bowl weekend?
For a lot of reasons, but for one primarily, I'm going to say the AFC West. By the Chargers, really. But yesterday, the Chiefs beat Mike Shanahan's son, Denver legend, Ed McCaffrey's son, Denver legend, in the Raiders Stadium that had Chiefs signage all over it. And in doing so, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid became the all-time winningest quarterback and coach combo at that stadium, including any Raiders quarterback head coach combo. Sucks to be the AFC West if you're not the Chiefs.
Tough week. Tough week for the AFC West. Wow, that's brutal. Joe, your loser of the week.
There's loads, isn't there? I'd include myself, but I'll probably go. And like any generation, similar to what Byron said, any generational quarterback who gets drafted or who are in the AFC, who, if they weren't in a certain era, would maybe get 1 or 2 Super Bowls, but that you might not get the chance, like what the Patriots did. So, Lamar Jackson, the Burrows, the
Josh Allens,
the Herbert, and anyone who gets drafted, you look at CJ Stroud and stuff like that. Are they actually going to win? They might win the 1 Super Bowl, like what Joe Flacco did when he was a Patriot. So yeah, you're just missing out just because you're in the era where possibly the greatest quarterback, or certainly the top 2, is playing in your conference.
I'm going to say now he's in the top 2, and he definitely isn't second.
You think? Because he's lost twice to the other guy in the conference final and the Super Bowl. That would be my only argument.
So who are we talking about? I was checking an email.
Brady Mahomes.
Okay, cool. I missed the name part, and I'm like, we're not talking about any current players, are we? Because no, absolutely fine. Yeah.
Great podcasting 101 there.
I wasn't talking. I was meant to be listening.
My loser of the week is going to be a bit of an odd one, because especially you guys wouldn't have seen it, but my loser of the week is going to be ITV. So they had coverage of the Super Bowl along with Sky Sports, and it was absolutely fucking abysmal.
Who was it?
So Craig.
I like to give you C group, so that's a shame.
Craig Doyle, he's called Craig Doyle. He's like Irish TV presenter, radio presenter. He's been in various things over the year. They had Osi Umenyiora, not really, Jason Bell, and the guy who played for the Panthers and the Commanders, the British guy, I can't remember what it's called, F.A.
Abada.
But they had on commentary. So what they don't do ITV when they show the games is they don't just tap into CBS commentary. They have the guy who does football commentary on BT Sport, Darren Fletcher.
Oh yeah.
It just
former Man U midfielder. Yeah.
No, not quite. He might have done a better job. I've only seen clips of it, luckily, but it was I watched some of it just to see how bad it was, and it was bad. They do the London games as well when ITV have the one London game, and again they don't just tap in. Yeah. So
the watch party though was Sky Sports.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's not so bad then.
So it was Romo and Nance. Yeah, so it's just great. So they had who did they have in the studio? They had Fitzmagic for Super Bowl. They had Christian Wilkins, Miami Dolphins D lineman, and then Phoebe Schechter and the usual guy, Neil Reynolds. But they fobbed off the usual guys, Jason Bell and Dominic C that they've had. Jeff Coach Reinbold, which is a shame because he's always good, and he was on the radio instead.
I think he was there in person.
Yeah, he was. He was there with Talk Sport. Yeah. And then the other one, as Joe's put in the chat, it's got the Kyle Shanahan.
I was leaving Kyle Shanahan for someone else. I mean, that is the 3 biggest Super Bowl blowing leads of all time. I mean, there's a few for joint on 10 points, but 1, 2, and joint 2 all belong to Kyle Shanahan. And some of joint 2 on Kyle Shanahan. But
I would only say this is probably the one out of the 3 where I'm not like.
It's not as much of a blowing game.
Yeah, I don't think he choked as much as some of the other ones. I think he's just you were playing the Chiefs and
they did have was it the NFC title game against the Rams in 2021 when they were 17-7? It was the Rams won the Super Bowl whatever year it was. 17-7 up going into the 4th quarter, and it just feels like just get a 9-point lead, Kyle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Don't let it get to double
11,
digits.
Don't get stuck on 10.
Jake, miss that fucking kick. Do it. Do not kick that field goal. Because, we asked last 2 weeks ago, Lamar Jackson, it hangs over him until you get it done, And Kyle Shanahan's one of the best defensive coach in football for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But
I just hope the 49ers are not the Eagles. When Reed was there, obviously, because he got to the quite a few conference and then got to a Super Bowl and lost them all. And then suddenly goes to the Chiefs, and like I said, once he starts winning, he can't stop. So hopefully Shanahan doesn't leave for someone else and wins multiple.
I can't see it because 29 or 30 teams would kill to have the success that the Niners have had in the last 5-6 years. 2 Super Bowls, 2 more conference championship games in that run. Yeah, kill for that success. So yeah, he's not going anywhere. Right, gents, that's the season done. Crazy. That's our first full season of Good Teams and Great Teams cover as well. We have got one more episode to go. We're going to be doing like a review, a look back at the season as a whole later in the week, and we'll have our kind of alternative awards, which we need to decide what they'll be. We did that at the midway point, so we'll do that, and that'll finish off the year, and then we're going to have a bit of a break because we work very hard. It takes a lot to make these shows. But thanks for everyone that's watched, listened, come on as a guest, shared a post, shared a episode, liked a link, whatever it is you've done to help and support us. Greatly appreciate it. As always, go give us a follow. Good Teams and Great Teams cover on Spotify, at GTW_GTC over on YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram, and TikTok. Charlie's taking a well-deserved break, and he'll be back in September to make some picks. But yeah, until then, stick around for the one episode later in the week, and then we'll be back in a few weeks' time when free agency starts, and we'll start having a look towards free agency and the draft, and start building all our hopes up for 2024. 32 teams are back in the race.
Cowboys going to win it.
This is our year. Thanks, gents. See you soon.